Tennessee's only primetime news. This is Fox 17 News at 9, your Code Red station.
All right, the heat is on and it could be potentially dangerous.
The feels like temperature tomorrow could be 110 degrees, maybe a little higher, and that's why we begin tonight with a Fox 17 Code Red. And our Code Red chief meteorologist Katie Morgan here with more on the heat. You know, we've been talking about it for days, but this is actually dangerous heat.
This is going to be the hottest real field day that we've had so far this summer, and the difference between what we'll see tomorrow compared to what we had later or earlier in the week is that the humidity is going to be higher, and that's what makes it dangerous for us here. So that's why we're in our Code Red alert for the high heat. It is the first heat advisory, by the way, that we have had this season so far, which is also why we have moved ahead into Code Red for Saturday. Now, heat index values will be anywhere between 105 to 110 for tomorrow, with actual temperatures around 95. This is just one snapshot around 1 o'clock, and we're looking at heat index values 103, 104. Easy, and as we head through the remainder of the afternoon, we could find some 105 plus categories there. A lot of real estate here under a heat advisory. The pink is an excessive heat warning out in portions of Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, and Mississippi. For us, we are under the heat advisory, which again means that those heat index values could be around 105 to around 110. Pretty mild night out there, warm in fact. Temperatures still sitting at 85 degrees under a partly to mostly cloudy sky, and we'll maintain a bit of cloud cover as we go through. The next couple of days may yield a few showers and storms as well. Overnight, hovering in those mid to upper 70s, really not much relief. We'll talk more about the heat for Saturday and the storm chances all coming up.
There's been multiple sightings of him, including him pleasuring himself at the roadway, which is my biggest concern with the children.
Antioch residents sounding the alarm tonight after a naked man is seen multiple times touching himself near schools, and they believe it's the same guy who was released without bond after being arrested for public indecency recently. Fox 17 News' Karen Aguilar live tonight in Antioch, where people just want the nonsense to stop.
Parents say that they saw the man just down the road here near Thomas Edison Elementary School behind me, and they say that they're just worried about their kids.
It's crazy, disgusting.
Skylar Madden points out one of the places she says a naked man who also masturbates in public was seen near Mount View and Murfreesboro Road.
I'm just so worried about the impact of the kids seeing that and the trauma that that's going to do to them.
She says there have been multiple sightings of him. The most alarming, she says, right on this road, which is close by two elementary schools, Thomas A. Edison Elementary and Mount View Elementary.
My biggest concern is the children, because summer school is still in. We still have school buses and dismissal, and that's the time of day that he's been seen.
A ton of other folks in Antioch are complaining as well. They believe it's Giovanni Fields. Metro Police arrested him earlier this month for public indecency. He was released without being required to post bond. And he was arrested by Vanderbilt police for indecent exposure earlier this year and let go.
It doesn't make me feel like they care about keeping us safe at that point, especially for somebody that's been arrested on the same charge.
I reached out to Metro Councilwoman Joy Stiles, who represents this area, to see if anything is being done, like asking police for more patrols. I'm waiting to hear back.
I believe there's things that can be done. There's ways that we can go about doing things where we can still protect our children.
We reached out to police to see if they have any leads and if Fields is in fact the suspect in this case. So far, no response. Reporting live in Antioch, Karen Aguilar, Fox 17 News, your Code Red station.
In Operation Crime and Justice, faded crosswalks, dangerous intersections, and streets with lights out, leading Nashville to have a reputation as one of the most dangerous cities for pedestrians. And while pedestrian fatalities are down nationwide and also here in Nashville, advocates say that we can still do better. Fox 17 News' Caitlin Miller joining us live downtown with more. Caitlin?
Megan, last year there were 15 pedestrian fatalities at the beginning of the first half of the year. This year there have been 10 pedestrian fatalities so far. And we spoke with Walk Bike Nashville today, who say even though these statistics from NDOT are down, they still would like to see a lot of improvements in the roads to eventually get to 0 deaths per year. This is the intersection of Trinity and Clarksville Pike in North Nashville.
You can see this crosswalk here is virtually non-existent, needs to be repainted, this one as well.
Wesley Smith, advocacy manager for Walk Bike Nashville, says every 3 in 4 pedestrian fatalities occur at night, usually when some of the street lights are out. So he says it's great to see that NES has made an investment in lighting these busy intersections.
We think a big contribution to that is NES is in the middle of its retrofit, so changing our old lights that we couldn't track outages very well to LEDs that are much brighter.
I can get everywhere faster.
Vicki Stinnett has lived in North Nashville for 30 years, and she says she scooters and walks around the neighborhood almost every day.
Nice way to get around the city and a great way for me to save money.
But Stinnett says she doesn't feel safe doing so.
The traffic lanes are non-existent. The Sharrow indicators for bicycles are non-existent. However, we need a protected bicycle lane there.
Stinnett says the streetlights are better, and she adds WeGo has made some more improvements, adding more bus lines. But she explains she wants to see better sidewalks and a protected bike lane. Walk Bike Nashville says that the most dangerous roads in Nashville are the pikes, including Charlotte, Nolensville, and Murfreesboro Pike. They say that these roads need a lot more lighting and improvements in order to be safe for pedestrians. Reporting live from downtown, I'm Caitlin Miller, Fox 17 News, your Code Red station.
Absolutely shocked, absolutely shocked.
In the high cost of homelessness, the U.S. Supreme Court affirms a new Tennessee law that makes it illegal to camp on public property. And that includes sleeping outside under bridges and overpasses. Fox 17 News' Kylie Walker digging into what this means for Music City, because advocates here have been calling on people to make change like this for years, I should say.
Well, some feel this criminalizes homelessness and could make the issues even worse. Others feel the Supreme Court decision could act as a deterrent for those living on the streets. In a 6-3 decision by the High Court, cities can now enforce bans on people sleeping and camping in public places. This overturned a California appeals court ruling that found that such laws are too harsh.
The decision today was shameful.
The ruling bringing in mixed emotions.
Punishing people for doing what they need to survive is fundamentally unjust and will never solve homelessness.
Jesse Rabinowitz with the National Homelessness Law Center says finding folks or putting them in jail will only make it harder for them to find a place to live.
The Supreme Court decision was huge today because that was one of the big reasons why we couldn't get our camp closed in Hermitage. We couldn't get people into housing. We had to let it continue to grow. We had to let people continue to die from overdoses.
Longtime community advocate in Hermitage, Brittany McCann, considers this high court ruling a win.
We've tried the experiment of, is living on public land okay? With no plumbing, no toilets, no hygiene, and it wasn't.
And while Tennessee lawmakers passed the bill in 2022 making it a Class E felony to camp on state-owned property, today we asked the mayor's office what they plan to enforce citywide following the Supreme Court decision. They sent us a statement that says their goal is to ensure housing and services are available.
What I know about our community is we're resilient.
The homeless crisis is such a problem in Nashville that the city has its own division to tackle these issues. April Calvin with the Office of Homeless Services says they'll use this ruling to fight for more housing solutions.
And what I know about our mayor and our local government is that they're solutions-based.
Now, we also reach out to the DA's office to ask if they plan on enforcing this. The office says that General Funk does not prosecute homelessness, but every case is different and will be reviewed thoroughly. For now, reporting downtown, Kylie Walker, Fox 17 News, your Code Red station.
We want to know what you think. Should Metro enforce a state law making it illegal to sleep on public property? 409 votes coming in, 76.3% say yes. The poll's live right now. To cast your vote, scan the QR code there on the right-hand side of your screen. It'll take you to our X page at Fox Nashville, and we'll update the numbers later in the newscast. Fox 17 News has been pressing state and local leaders to address homelessness for more than 2 years now, and you can see our in-depth reporting at our website, fox17.com.
Tennessee defying a Supreme Court ruling that prohibits the death penalty for convicted child rapists. Well, starting next Monday, convicted child rapists could face the death penalty. The new Tennessee law passed with overwhelming support, but some Democratic lawmakers think the seemingly good idea may actually do more harm to victims in the long run.
45 people sit on Tennessee's death row. One woman and 44 men, all convicted of murder. The oldest is 74-year-old Oscar Smith. He's been here since 1990. But Larry McKay has been here the longest. The 68-year-old has been locked up for 41 years. Both inmates waiting for their sentence to be carried out or face the possibility of dying in prison before that. Criminal defense attorney Mark O'Mara knows the price of the waiting game. He's successfully kept clients off death row his entire career.
It cost about $20,000, give or take, to keep somebody in prison. So average length, 40 years, that's $800,000 to house them until they die of natural causes in prison. On the other hand, a death penalty trial and all the consequent appeals are extraordinarily expensive. The range goes from $7-8 million to as high as $12 million.
And Tennessee's death row could get even more crowded this year. Senator Jack Johnson sponsored a bill signed into law by Governor Lee that now gives prosecutors the option to introduce the death penalty as punishment for convicted child rapists. A more significant burden for taxpayers, but a cost that Senator Jack Johnson thinks is well worth it.
I'm not concerned about what's cheaper. I'm not concerned about what saves money. What I'm more concerned about is making sure that people who can commit such a horrible, heinous act as raping a child get the punishment that they deserve.
Democratic lawmaker Gloria Johnson thinks the death penalty route for these hideous crimes will bring unintended consequences to those who deserve the most protection.
This person gets the death penalty. They're going to be dragging that child back into court every year for the appeals, having them relive that rape every time there's an appeal, and that can go on for years. That is not the situation with a life in prison without parole, 100% time served.
In 2008, the U.S. Supreme Court heard Kennedy versus Louisiana, a man citing the Eighth Amendment of cruel and unusual punishment to appeal his death sentence for the rape of a child who did not die. In a 5-4 decision, the High Court struck down the Louisiana statute. Former U.S. Supreme Court Justice Anthony Kennedy, writing for the majority, saying as it relates to crimes against individuals, the death penalty should not be expanded to instances where the victim's life was not taken. Tennessee and several other states have since defied that ruling, including Arizona, Idaho, Missouri, South Carolina, South Dakota, and Florida have all introduced legislation, but only Florida and Tennessee have affirmed the death penalty punishment for convicted child rapists. Florida criminal defense attorney Mark O'Mara doesn't believe in the death penalty and doesn't think it's a good deterrent for crime.
It's so hard to wrap your head around because you think if you're a parent and this happens to your child, your natural instinct would be death penalty.
Look, personally, I agree. If it was a child of mine or a cousin or a nephew, obviously, but the reason why we don't let the mob mentality occur, the reason why we do have rules and rules of court, and the reason why we have a jury picked in part by the defendant is to try and take us away from the emotionalism of it.
Despite the Supreme Court ruling it's unconstitutional to impose the death penalty for a crime that did not involve a death, 9 states still allow the death penalty for treason. 5 states allow it for aggravated kidnapping. A drug trafficking conviction can lead to a death sentence in Missouri and Florida. And airplane hijacking can land you on death row in Georgia. New Mexico listed espionage as a capital punishment crime before abolishing the death penalty after Kennedy versus Louisiana.
Monday on Fox 17 News at 9, the timing of this new law comes as a moratorium has been in place for the death penalty here in Tennessee since 2022.
All right, let's talk about the weather. We've been saying hot, hot, hot for days now, but this really is hot, hot, hot.
Yeah, tomorrow should be the hottest that we have felt so far. for the year, with heat index values as high as 110. And that's really why we remain in our code red alert for tonight. It'll still feel quite hot for Sunday, too. Temperatures will be in the low 90s there. And we're used to that, but still very humid, which puts extra stress on our body if we're out and about, especially doing any kind of exercise or any activity for a prolonged amount of time. Saturday around 8 o'clock, we're already sitting at 81 degrees, up to 91 at noon and up to 97 by 4. That should be the high for the day. Sunday, we'll see a little bit better chance for showers and thunderstorms for the afternoon hours. And again, the heat index value is just over 100 for Sunday. So let's take a look at Saturday first. 101 here. This is at 9 a.m. here in Nashville. And again, right around 105, if not a little higher for some. Most of those will be 105s will be along and west of I-65 for the afternoon. As we go into the later part of the day, you can see it still kind of just hovers there. Stagnant air around all the way through the evening hours. In fact, 10 o'clock still feeling like the mid-90s here for Saturday. We go into Sunday morning and we're already feeling like the low 90s at 7 a.m. and then back to around 100 for the afternoon. Again, Sunday afternoon, we will likely have a little better chance for showers and storms. So this will play a role in keeping temperatures a little lower, but with the humidity still high, the heat index will still be up there in those low 100s. As far as rain chances go, we do have a few of them. Saturday, a small chance, a little bit better chance as we head into Sunday. Then we are dry Monday and Tuesday with some pop-ups on the way heading into next week. As far as storm chances go for tomorrow, anything that pops likely will stay sub-severe. There's one or maybe two strong thunderstorms that would be possible in the afternoon and into the early evening hours. The main threat right now looks to be along and north of I-40, but I'd say it's a small threat right now for severe weather, and it is not a tornado threat. So again, want to stress that wind and hail would be the primary concerns here. So we walk you through the forecast through Saturday morning. We're quiet with a partly cloudy sky. A couple showers trying to pop up, especially east of 65 early on. Those will likely be sub-severe, but we'll drop a brief downpour or two. Into the later part of the day, you can see it's relatively quiet, but can't rule out an isolated storm or two throughout the evening on Saturday. Into early Sunday morning, a few showers may be possible. A little bit better chance as we head towards the afternoon hours. Here's 2, 3 o'clock. Nice little line trying to develop here. And for now, not looking like they should be severe either. But as always, this time of year, one or two of those storms could be on the strong side with gusts of wind and some small hail. But these, again, won't be tornado threats for us. Given the time of year, the tornado threat tends to be pretty low for us. It's not zero. There are always exceptions, but I don't see this weekend being an exception for us as of right now. We'll talk more about the holiday weekend, or the holiday, I guess, early weekend this weekend, but more so the holiday next week. And a new system that we are watching in the tropics and when it might get named.
Katie, thank you. Right now, the votes continue to flow in from the viewer poll. The question, who do you think won the presidential debate last night? Joe Biden right here or former President Donald Trump? More than 1,100 people have weighed in, and you see the numbers, 1,167. 77.5% of these folks say Donald Trump won. 6.1% say Joe Biden, and 16.5% say they didn't watch it. Just use the camera on your smartphone. You'd like to vote. The QR code, it'll take. Politics tonight, many Democrats are expressing concern about Joe Biden's performance in the debate last night against former President Donald Trump.
Well, tonight, Fox 17 News' Matt Gelka taking a closer look at the issues that spark concern. And by the way, you can vote on this issue by scanning the QR code that will appear here shortly on your screen during this story.
It was this moment near the beginning of the debate that set off alarm bells for Democrats.
What I've been able to do with the with the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Biden didn't seem sharp, with a raspy, soft voice and sometimes jumbled answers. Trump was able to go off unchecked, and Biden seemingly couldn't keep up. The panicky headlines from multiple outlets came quick. Even close Biden allies were stunned.
This was not the debate performance that the Biden campaign team wanted or needed from this debate.
Look, there is no two ways about it. That was not a good debate for Joe Biden.
Multiple New York Times opinion pieces called on Biden to drop out. Republicans also piled on.
I feel like this is a national security risk for our country because what the world saw was weakness.
A more fiery Biden showed up at a rally in North Carolina Friday and didn't speak like a candidate who will be stepping aside.
I don't debate as well as I used to, but I know what I do know. I know how to tell the truth. I know how to get things done. And I know, like millions of Americans know, when you get knocked down, you get back up.
Biden told reporters after the debate it wasn't so bad, and not all Democrats were ready to abandon ship. Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman compared it to his own poor debate performance against Dr. Mehmet Oz when Fetterman was briefly written off. He went on to win the election and tweeted bluntly, "Chill the F out." It's well documented that Biden spent days practicing for the debate at Camp David. His team also helped craft the rules and agreed to the format of the debate. It further calls into question how all of that prep led to that performance last night. Reporting in Atlanta, I'm Matt Gelka.
During that story, we had a QR code linking you to a poll asking, do you think President Joe Biden should continue with his re-election campaign? And a lot of people voting, more than 700. 67.8% say no, we don't think so. Only 32.2% said yes.
Well, big news tonight in the chaos at the Capitol. In a 6-3 decision, the Supreme Court rules in favor of a January 6th rioter challenging his obstruction charge. The High Court interpreting the law in a way that limits the scope and how similar charges will apply. Let's bring in criminal defense attorney David Rabin. David, how does this ruling change the landscape for J6 rioters?
I think it is a significant change. The Supreme Court held that the statute that they prosecuted him under was designed for like financial crimes. The thing was created when the Enron financial disaster occurred in Texas, and they made it a federal offense to change documents and that sort of thing. And the Supreme Court held that the statute was not designed to deal with this January 6th takeover in the Capitol, which was an act of violence and taking over of the Capitol. It was never designed for this particular statute. I'm not sure why the prosecutors even chose that particular statute. That's got a lot of problems with it. But the Supreme Court held correctly, I believe, that the statute has no application to this particular behavior, and it could affect that man's conviction and potentially dozens, if not hundreds of others.
That leads me to my next question. How might this court decision affect the case against even former President Trump?
Well, Trump is charged with other things in addition to that. A court could easily parse out this particular statute from the charges against him and investigation of him on this. This is not the only thing that he's charged with. So I don't think it would have any impact on the Trump part. It would on the cases where they had rifle shot charges for people for just this particular offense, and it could implicate dozens, if not hundreds of prosecutions. As I said, there are other statutes that the government could have used, particular assault charges, invasion of statutes, trespass, burglary, that sort of thing. But they chose to use this rather obscure law, which has never been designed for this particular event.
Well, has the Department of Justice lost credibility in your eyes after the Supreme Court ruled that the agency treated Capitol riot defendants unfairly?
No, I don't think that this is an unfairly kind of thing. This is a situation where they picked a statute and they picked the wrong statute. What people are trying to ascribe some bad motive to the Department of Justice. I mean, these acts were criminal. I don't care how you dice it and slice it. You cannot have a physical invasion of the Capitol, that sort of thing. I mean, free speech ends at the door when you're assaulting people like that. So there are other statutes. I don't think the Department of Justice is guilty of anything except picking the wrong statute. They had other laws they could have chosen. This is certainly a blow to the Justice Department. They may have to retry dozens of these. And of course, the greater problem is some people pled guilty to this particular offense. And the question that the lawyers are now debating, whether they can undo their guilty pleas as a result of the Supreme Court decision. So it's a pretty wide-ranging decision. And The real question I have is whether the Justice Department's going to retrial these people.
A lot more to come on this. Mr. Rabin, thank you so much for your time tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you for asking me. Bye-bye.
In Operation Crime and Justice, Metro Police need your help tonight to find and identify a man accused of shoplifting some items from a Dollar General store. They say he hit the place twice. Happened at a store on Gallatin Road. These are surveillance pictures, and you can see they're pretty good. You can see the faces of the people involved here. Police say that they stole several cases of beer after threatening to shoot the manager if he didn't let them leave the store. If you recognize this guy, you know who he is or anything about what happened, where police can find him, pick up the phone, call Metro Police 862-8600.
Sunday on Full Measure, we put the spotlight on wind power. Wind power playing a big part in the Biden administration's green energy goals, but those goals are meeting some strong headwinds. We'll look at the direction momentum for wind energy is blowing as America becomes sicker. Much research blaming the chemicals in our food and environment. We'll also look at a 5-year investigation on top of a dietitian group that's giving advice while taking money from the industries implicated. And after more than 2 centuries since America's first whistleblower law, we'll examine some of the heroic acts of truth-telling that changed the course of history. You can see that and more of Cheryl Atkinson's investigations every Sunday night at 11 right here on Fox.
NASCAR here in Middle Tennessee this weekend. What one of the sport's top drivers is saying about the
Now here's a look at some of the headlines you should be keeping your eye on as NASCAR heads to Nashville this weekend. Christopher Bell won his 3rd race of the season in New Hampshire. Could he be a serious contender now for the championship?
Bell has shown, you know, a lot of strength here, and you know, that's, I don't know, it'd be hard to say right now. I think it's still too early in the season to pick like a front runner horse.
The worst kept secret in the garage becomes official as Chase Briscoe will join Joy Gibbs Racing next season.
It's super exciting for me to come over here to an organization that, you know, I feel like just matches, you know, my values, and just the culture over here is just different than anywhere I've ever been before.
And NASCAR takes on Music City.
It's just so different. It's like a 1.5 miles, but it races like a short track. So I like it a lot. You know, just trying to balance, you know, racing it like a short track, but still trying to keep the 1.5 mile speeds in it.
You can watch my full conversation with Carson Hocevar and our expert Chris Carrier on the Backstretch podcast, which you can find on Apple Podcasts and on YouTube. On the Backstretch, I'm Heather Williams.
Well, looking ahead to Sunday and Nashville in focus when our panel weighs in on the 14,000 letters sent to people across the state saying that they have to prove that they're eligible to vote.
Now, some of those letters went to naturalized citizens who came here the right way and they earned their citizenship. Well, the messages didn't land very well at all on them. Letters sent by Tennessee Secretary of State Trey Hargett. We spoke to several people who feel like it's an attempt by state Republican leaders to scare them into not voting this fall, but conservatives say no, this is about election integrity.
He finds himself here not even following the law, as has been highlighted by many state reps, of notifying the county election officials first.
It is kind of an intrusion. Also, it's always great to encourage people who are American citizens to vote, but let's not pretend that this isn't a political football on both sides.
Other topics for our panel on Sunday include new support for Mayor O'Connell's transit improvement plan, as well as questions about the law banning sleeping or camping on public property. Will it be enforced now that the law has been affirmed by the U.S. Supreme Court? That's Sunday morning at 6:30 and Sunday night at 10:30 on Nashville in Focus.
Coming up, talking more about the 4th of July forecast, what you can expect going into next week.
I'm Atrell Nashar in Washington with what a new reading of inflation tells us about the direction of price.
Well, new tonight, some Tennessee State University students tell Fox 17 News that they've been purged from their classes with only a few days warning and thousands of dollars in bills to pay. Fox 17 News' Madeline Nolan spoke with one of those students.
Imagine you get a notification saying that you need to pay more than $12,000 or you'll quote unquote be purged from all of your classes. Well, we understand that you need to pay money to be enrolled in all of these classes, but it was the fact that these students say they had barely any time for their financial aid to hit before they were dropped completely. Well, that happened to TSU student Michaela Bracey. She was notified of her balance on June 10th, and then a few days later, her friend told her to go and check her portal, only to realize that she was no longer in these classes. But according to Bracey, she wasn't the only one who faced this issue, saying that hundreds were purged, and even if financial aid hit late, they still weren't reinstated into their classes. And she says the line at the bursar's office was so long the day of the purge, they still have no answers.
In a time where you see so many young people where it's like, oh, these children are burglarizing people's homes, or, you know, that are getting the wrong attention, or they're in the streets doing whatever, when you have such a group of young people that's so dedicated to doing something positive and becoming the next doctor or respiratory therapist or a lawyer or whatever in your community, and we don't get the shine, we get pushed to the side from our own school that's supposed to care about us, and we just go unnoticed, and we are left with this discouragement.
Bracey, a respiratory care major, and her classmates have still been going to her classes as well as clinicals, but with the lack of answers from the school, she feels as if she may be doing it for no credit. Now, we have reached out to officials with TSU through the communications office and have yet to hear back, and that happened on Wednesday. Here at the Avon Williams campus of TSU, Madeline Nolan, Fox 17 News, your Code Red station.
In the economy tonight, the numbers from May show that prices increased slowly, and that's not the only news. The Commerce Department says that incomes are also on the rise. Fox 17 News' Atra Elnishar taking a deeper look at how this will impact the economy.
Another gradual step towards stable prices.
Your total is 45. Oh, please wait.
The always anticipated personal consumption expenditures price index shows inflation in May slowed to 2.6%. Excluding volatile food and energy prices, it's the lowest reading since March 2021. It's welcome news for members of the Federal Reserve who've been keeping interest rates painfully high in order to slow the economy and pull down inflation.
It is just additional news that monetary policy is working, inflation is gradually cooling. That's a relief for businesses and households who have been struggling with persistently high inflation. It's good news for how policy is working, but there's more work to do. Not done yet.
Not done yet. The Fed wants to see inflation down to a solid 2% rate. Many Americans are putting off buying a house, new car, or taking out any big loan until interest rates start going down. The consensus on Wall Street is that likely won't happen until September.
President Biden, inflation has slowed, but prices remain high.
Voters' top concern, the economy, kicking off the first presidential debate.
We have 800,000 new manufacturing jobs, but there's more to be done. There's more to be done. Working class people are still in trouble.
And he caused the inflation. He's blaming inflation, and he's right, it's been very bad. He caused the inflation.
Over the past 3 years of high inflation, it's the resilient American consumer that's helped keep the economy afloat. May's report also shows us incomes continue to rise, and by more than economists had expected. Consumer spending, however, is starting to show signs of slowing. That's tough for retailers, but good news for the Fed.
We have growth slowing, spending slowing, the labor market slowing, inflation coming down. That's how policy works.
Fed officials acknowledge it's taking longer than everyone would like. But it's still too early to tell when they can declare victory in their fight against inflation. In Washington, I'm Atra Elnishar reporting.
A pretty warm evening tonight, and as we head into the weekend, the heat will continue for us. Saturday again is going to be our big focus for the heat here. And why heat index matters, because that's what we've been talking about. Heat index values 105 to 110. When we have low humidity, that drier air allows moisture to evaporate, which helps cool our body. That's why we sweat, so we can cool the body. When we have higher humidity, that moisture air or moist air limits evaporation, so the sweat can't leave our body, and then we aren't able to cool down. So when we're outside doing activities, even just walking, we can overheat much quicker under high humidity, and that's one of the reasons why heat index values are so important for us. So for tomorrow, I've got this heat risk for outdoor activities, so you're here, and we're looking at low threat through the early morning hours. That would be the best time if you need to be out doing anything outdoors. But as we get into the afternoon, we're right on that high category side through the afternoon hours and even into the early evening hours into that moderate category. So again, something just to keep in mind. And of course, it's summertime. We know how it goes. You just want to limit your outdoor activity. The Ally 400 at Nashville Speedway on Sunday is going to be looking a bit stormy, unfortunately. Not going to be an all-day rain, but we'll have at least the threat for some thunderstorms. Temperatures, on the other hand, will be in those low 90s. Let's turn our attention to the tropics now. We have a new tropical storm. In fact, this is brand new information. First time I'm seeing Beryl. This is a new update that has just come in. So the advisory time is 10 p.m. or a little early. Sometimes they come out with them early if they're confident enough. And boy, Beryl looking pretty organized at this point here. A very well-defined area of disturbed weather here for tropical storms. So they have found tropical storm force winds within this storm here, moving west at 18 miles per hour. Max wind speeds at 40, and we are expecting Beryl to continue to strengthen eventually here. Will take some time, but remains as a tropical storm, but getting into the late part of the weekend, possibly Category 1 hurricane as it continues its westerly path here, getting into Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, getting ready to push more into the Caribbean and possibly into the Gulf. So this is one that we'll want to keep our eye on. Again, Beryl is the name. Alberto, we have a little check mark next to him, and now Beryl is the next named storm that we have a little check mark next to. So the next one after this would be Chris. So again, Beryl will be one that we keep our eye on. 4th of July thoughts going into next week here. It is looking like the 90s will be with us here. A few afternoon thunderstorms possible and hopefully clearing as we head into the evening hours. But for now, looking at a high around 94, so still feeling hot and humid. Afternoon showers and thunderstorms, and as I mentioned, hopefully we will start to see things weaken and taper off for the evening hours in time for fireworks at night. Should have moved my 4th of July over. Forgot to do that. It doesn't do that automatically. I wish it would. As we take a look at your 7-day forecast, we're in the 90s here. A brief break on Monday. We're right around 88 degrees. So Thursday, yes, is the 4th of July. And then Friday, the day after the 4th of July, staying hot and humid.
Just ahead, a costly indulgence. Up next, the math behind having a... It's your money, and beer drinkers in Tennessee pay more for the privilege than in any other state in the country. The tax on beer in the volunteer state, $1.29 a gallon. Our partners at OpenTheBooks.com looked at the records to see just how much revenue beer generates in our state. They also looked at how our beer tax compares to other states. On the revenue side, beer drinkers pumped $19 million into state coffers last year.
Look at other states like Wyoming is 2% or 2 cents rather per gallon. Missouri and Wisconsin are 6 cents per gallon. Alaska is the second highest after Tennessee's $1.29. Alaska charges $1.07.
By the way, the beer tax in neighboring Kentucky, 93 cents a gallon. You decide where to buy. Records show there are more than 2,000 places to buy a beer in Nashville. That includes bars, restaurants, grocery stores, and markets.
In your consumer news, Bluebell Ice Cream wants you to tell them which discontinued ice cream flavor that you want to see brought back. 16 flavors in the running here. They include tiramisu, strawberry cheesecake, groom's cake, and hot fudge brownie. If you want to weigh in here, better hurry. Voting closes tonight. Just go to Bluebell's website and let them know which flavor you'd like to see return.
And a birthday worth celebrating. The special milestone honor for this Franklin man next.
Well, a big congratulations to a Middle Tennessee man celebrating a milestone birthday tonight.
This is a pleasure to read. Friends and family turning out to celebrate Corey Tarico's 100th birthday party. Did it in Franklin today. He was born in Italy, where he worked as a police officer for a time before moving here to the U.S.
Pedestrian deaths are down in Nashville, but advocates say a lot more can be done. We'll have more on this coming up next.
And parents are alarmed in Antioch after they say a man is walking around naked and at times touching himself. Coming up, hear more about their concerns.
This is Fox 17 News at 10, your Code Red station.
And we begin with the Code Red weather alert tonight for extreme heat and storms over the next 24 hours.
With these high temperatures, staying hydrated, staying prepared, two top priorities here. Fox 17 Code Red Chief Meteorologist Katie Morgan joining us here tonight, getting us prepared for the weekend, everything we need to know to stay safe.
Those are all good things, of course. And again, the difference between this weekend, because some people maybe think it's been hot. It's been hot a lot already for the summer. But one of the differences is the fact that we have not had a heat advisory yet until now. We have a heat advisory that's in effect. And it's the humidity. The humidity is going up for tomorrow. And so the mid to upper 90s that we had earlier in the week compared to what we could see tomorrow is going to be different in that it's going to feel hotter given the heat index values here, 105 to 110 with temperatures in the mid to upper 90s. This is just one snapshot here at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and we're looking at heat index values over 100 in many locations here in Middle Tennessee and Southern Kentucky. So just knowing to limit your outdoor activity throughout the afternoon hours here. A lot of those heat advisories in effect in the orange and pink. These are excessive heat warnings just to our west. But for much of Middle Tennessee here, these are going to be the counties that will be most affected by that heat coming in for tomorrow. Low temperatures tonight. Not much relief from the heat as we drop back into the mid to upper 70s here in Nashville. We'll walk you through Saturday. We'll also take a look at where we could end up with a few thunderstorms coming up in your Fox 17 Code Red forecast.
In Operation Crime and Justice, faded crosswalks, dangerous intersections, and streets without lights. This trio is fueling Nashville's reputation as one of the most dangerous cities in the country for pedestrians. And while pedestrian fatalities are down here and nationally, local advocates say we can still do better. Fox 17 News' Caitlin Miller's live downtown tonight with a closer look at the numbers.
Yes, Scott. Well, last year there were 15 pedestrian fatalities at the first half of the year. And so far, according to NDOT, there have been 10 pedestrian fatalities so far this year. Now, even though numbers are down for the first half of the year, Walk Bike Nashville says that our roads still need improvements to get their goal of 0 deaths per year. Wesley Smith, advocacy manager for Walk Bike Nashville, says every 3 in 4 pedestrian fatalities occur at night, usually when some of the street lights are out. So he says it's great to see that NES has made an investment in lighting these busy intersections.
We do want to see the other pikes that haven't gotten at Charlotte, Nolensville, Murfreesboro, that we prioritize the most dangerous stretches of that with lighting improvements.
We also spoke with a pedestrian who lives in North Nashville for 30 years, and she says WeGo has made more improvements, adding more bus lines. Now, the pedestrian that we spoke with says that she wants to see more bike lanes and better sidewalks. Reporting live from downtown, I'm Caitlin Miller, Fox 17 News, your Code Red station.
My biggest concern is the children, because summer school is still in. We still have school buses and dismissal, and that's the time of day that he's been seen.
New tonight, people in Antioch are concerned about a man exposing and touching himself in public, especially with schools nearby. Fox 17 News' Karen Aguilar joining us live tonight in Antioch with the latest on this case. Karen?
Megan, parents say they don't want their kids to see it and they want it to stop. People have been complaining that there have been multiple sightings of the man, including on this road in particular, Mount View, near 2 elementary schools. They say it's very concerning. Several people say the man's actions are disturbing and have tried to piece together who he is. Neighbors say the suspect might be this man, Giovanni Fields, who police arrested earlier this year for public indecency. He was released without bond. They are wondering if it is the same man, how he got off so easy, and what this means for those kinds of charges moving forward.
I believe there's things that can be done. There's ways that we can go about doing things where we can still protect our children.
I reached out to Metro Councilwoman Joe Stiles, who represents this area, to see if anything is being done, like asking police for more patrols. So far, no response. We also reached out to Metro Police to find out if there are any leads. We're waiting to hear back. Reporting live here in Antioch, Karen Aguilar, Fox 17 News, your Code Red station.
A huge win for communities like ours who have been hammered by nearby encampments.
In the high cost of homelessness tonight, the U.S. Supreme Court affirms a new Tennessee law that makes it illegal for folks to camp out on public property. The High Court's decision puts cities like ours, like Nashville's, in the driver's seat. In a 6-3 decision by the Supreme Court, cities can now enforce bans on people sleeping and camping in public places. While some feel this criminalizes homelessness and makes it harder for them to find a place to live, others feel it's a step in the right direction.
Unfortunately, the Supreme Court just made it a lot easier for cities and states to take the cruel, inhumane, and unjust approach of criminalizing people experiencing homelessness.
These laws discourage one tent turning into an acre of tents because these are not communities. They are places where vulnerable women are preyed upon, they're sexually abused, the mentally ill become trapped. The addicted become more addicted and more hopeless and harder to reach.
Today, Fox 17 News reached out to the mayor's office asking if they plan, to enforce a citywide camping ban. They sent us a statement that says the goal is to ensure housing and that services are available for the homeless. In tonight's viewer poll, we asked you whether Metro should enforce that state law making it illegal to sleep on public property. The public is convinced that yes, they should, to the tune of 76%, and that's more than 430 people voting. Our thanks to all who cast a ballot tonight, and be sure to watch for a new Fox 17 News poll tomorrow. And as our regular viewers know, Fox 17 has been pressing state and local leaders to address the homeless crisis for more than 2 years now. You can see more of our in-depth reporting at our website, fox17.com.
A former SEC women's swimming champion is in Nashville tonight as part of the Take Back Title IX bus tour. Gallatin native Riley Gaines swam for the University of Kentucky, and she's now an outspoken advocate to keep biological men out of women's sports. This rally is in opposition to the Biden administration's stance that Title IX, which calls for female sports to get the same support as men's, including transgender athletes. It's sparked a nationwide debate.
Unfortunately, it takes negative circumstances, people being adversely affected, losing out on opportunities, being exploited in locker rooms, being injured in their sports before people start to care.
Something that's being left out of what they're telling you and everyone else is that trans people, gender nonconforming people who are in sex-separated spaces like bathrooms and locker rooms, actually are victims to gender-based violence, hate crimes at a much higher rate than people who are not transgender.
The Our Bodies Our Sports group says it aims to fight against those who threaten women-only spaces and opportunities.
New concerns about the future. Democrats on the defense tonight after a poor debate performance by President Biden. Making headlines tonight, the U.S. Supreme Court siding with a former Pennsylvania police officer charged with obstruction in the January 6th riot at the U.S. Capitol.
Fox 17 News' Kayla Gaskins is in Washington to break down how this will impact what happens next.
Welcome news out of Washington Friday for some of the January 6th defendants. The Supreme Court ruling that the Justice Department overstepped by charging hundreds of rioters on January 6th with obstruction.
For the defendants, a very big deal. Overall, for the prosecutions of January 6th, I'd say a minor hiccup.
Prosecutors used the criminal statute at the center of this case to prosecute hundreds of rioters who broke into the Capitol that day. Felony obstruction comes with a maximum 20 years in prison. Even though none of the defendants received such a harsh sentence, some are serving time behind bars. This decision could force prosecutors to reopen their cases. Many will have to be retried, resentenced, or simply released from prison.
The individuals who have already been convicted, it'll depend where they are in the process. As long as they have an active appeal, then this will apply to them.
Lene Erickson with Third Way points out this is just one of multiple charges many of the defendants face for actions that day.
It is not a complete deal breaker on whether or not folks who invaded the Capitol on January 6th are going to be held accountable. It's really a kind of technical question around whether obstruction really just refers to things involving documents.
Donald Trump also charged with obstruction for January 6th, and while that charge could be dropped in the wake of today's decision, the former president still has a mountain of other legal battles to fight.
The bigger case for Donald Trump is whether or not presidential immunity shields him from prosecution for actions taken during his term. That decision expected Monday. In Washington, I'm Kayla Gaskins.
Will President Biden stay on the November ballot? The pressure some Democrats are feeling tonight after last night's debate.
Are biblical teachings coming to a public school near you? I'm Angela Brown in Washington, D.C. We'll break down the bills being passed in Republican-led states, the lawsuits being...
Well, in Your Voice, Your Vote, a lackluster debate performance is renewing some concerns among Democrats about keeping President Biden on the ballot.
That's right, but as Connor Hansen explains, the president says not only is he staying in the race, he is in it to win it.
President Biden back on the campaign trail, holding a rally in North Carolina just hours after what some Democrats say was a disastrous debate performance. This time, the president was far more energized, making his case to voters and taking a jab at former President Trump.
I don't walk as easy as I used to. I don't speak as smoothly as I used to. I don't debate as well as I used to. But I know what I do know. I know how to tell the truth.
The president began Thursday night's debate with a raspy voice, coughing, and sometimes losing his train of thought, alarming his supporters.
I told you it was a bad night, but it's not the end of the campaign.
Some are publicly floating the idea of replacing Biden on the ticket, but the campaign says President Biden has no plans to drop out and that he's still committed to a second debate in September.
I've watched him deal with world leaders, talking about all the crises that we've been dealing with and going back and forth with them. I know because I've seen him do it.
Former President Trump also held a post-debate rally.
As you saw on television last night, we had a big victory against a man that really is looking to destroy our country.
Trump is expected to make his vice president selection soon, saying that person would be at Thursday's debate.
What I've told President Trump is that he should have someone who's not a distraction or a subtraction, should be additive.
The DNC announced it plans to make its official nomination virtually ahead of the August 7th deadline and before the Chicago convention. In New York, Connor Hansen, Fox News.
Child rapists could soon get the death penalty here in Tennessee. A new law takes effect July 1st on Monday, allowing the option during sentencing, but it won't be carried out anytime soon. The state put a pause on executions. What's behind the governor's decision and why Tennessee lawmakers want to expand death penalty crimes? That's Monday on Fox 17 News at 9.
Across the nation tonight, a legal battle about the Constitution and religion in public schools is unfolding before our eyes. Fox 17 News' Angela Brown framing the debate tonight from the 10 Commandments to the possibility of chaplains in public schools.
Here's the lawsuit filed in federal court, coming from a multi-faith group, 9 Louisiana families with children in public schools suing to block a new state law requiring public schools to display the 10 Commandments. Americans United for Separation of Church and State offering legal guidance.
So here we have the government playing favorites when it comes to picking one particular version of the 10 Commandments, coercive religion for our children who are captive in classrooms, but also taking away parents' rights to teach their children their religion.
Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry defending the new law on Fox News, calling the 10 Commandments an historical document.
Moses faces the U.S. Speaker of the House in the House chamber. He is the original giver of law. Most of our laws in this country are founded on the 10 Commandments.
The 10 Commandments posted in public schools in Louisiana. Oklahoma State Superintendent now directing all public schools to teach the Bible. chaplains in public schools in Texas. Troubling to Texas State Rep James Tallarico.
This is part of a troubling trend of religious extremists trying to blur the lines between church and state.
Former President Donald Trump endorsing the 10 Commandments in Louisiana schools. And if you don't agree, this is what the co-author of the Louisiana bill thinks you should do.
What do you say to the parents of students or even teachers who don't share your religious views?
Don't look at it.
The courts are already weighing in on some of these issues. Just days ago, the Oklahoma Supreme Court stopped what would have been the first publicly funded, with taxpayer dollars, religious charter school in the U.S. The court saying the school violates the Establishment Clause of the Constitution, which prohibits government from making any law respecting an establishment of religion. In Washington, D.C., I'm Angela Brown.
Our Code Red Alert as we continue to track the heat on the way for Saturday. Along with it, a few thunderstorms as well, and we'll have the potential for a stray strong thunderstorm on Saturday. The severe threat is not great, but it is something that we'll at least need to keep our eye on along and north of I-40. For Saturday and Sunday, both feeling quite hot and humid, although Saturday really will be the day that we're focused on as far as the heat is concerned. 81 at 8 o'clock in the morning. These are actual temperatures here. 91 at noon and up to about 97 for the early evening hours. And then Sunday, a little cooler here, and that's going to be due to the extra cloud cover that we have around, along with the potential for some showers and thunderstorms. So as we walk you through the heat index forecast for the weekend here, this is at 9 a.m. and it's already feeling like upper 90s, close to 100 for a lot of folks. As we head into the afternoon, we will maintain that 100 to 105 category and could be a little higher than that in some spots, especially I would say toward the Tennessee River. And as we head deeper into the afternoon, still looking at 100s here almost area wide, the exceptions being Crossville and McMinnville. Hanging out in the 90s in Lawrenceburg. As we get into Saturday night, not much relief from the heat, and by early Sunday morning, hovering in those 80s as far as the heat index goes. Usually we don't have heat indexes much in the morning, but when we have so much heat and humidity around, it does tend to linger a little bit throughout the morning hours and then takes off again. This is Sunday morning, and notice as we head towards the afternoon, the 100 category is possible again. Now, there will be a little more variation here given the fact that we've got those showers and storms around, and then we start to see things cool down a little bit going into Monday. A couple showers and storms possible, especially as we get into Sunday. In fact, right now it's looking a little bit better chance for thunderstorms on Sunday, but for Saturday, a stray strong thunderstorm can't be ruled out. Wind and hail will be the main threats here. This is not going to be a tornado threat for us as we head through the afternoon. So we'll walk you through the forecast for Saturday. You can see that we are mainly dry, a few showers early in the afternoon. And then as we head into the evening hours, looking to quiet down through the overnight into early Sunday morning. Sunday morning to midday, mainly quiet. It'll be the afternoon here. Unfortunately, right as the Ally 400 is getting underway here at 2 o'clock, some pop-up showers and thunderstorms will be around. Could bring some brief heavy downpours and some gusty winds. Here's a look at your 7-day forecast. 90s the story, maybe a break with those 90s on Monday, then right back to the mid-90s for the middle of next week.
Well, it's race weekend in Middle Tennessee. We'll tell you how you can get in on the action at Nashville Superspeedway.
Nearly 22 million children living in America rely on schools for their meals. Fox 17 News and our parent company, Sinclair Broadcasting, are partnering.
Well, get ready for guitars and fast cars as NASCAR rolls here into Middle Tennessee this weekend.
A lot of people excited about this. It's going down at the Nashville Superspeedway in Gladeville, and the green flag drops at the Ally 400 at 2:30 on Sunday. And there's a full lineup of qualifying races tomorrow and a fan zone that opens up at 10 a.m. with food and live music. You can also find the fan zone here. It's right in front of the daily parking. If you're wondering, it's right there at the entrance, and the tickets still available. We'll put a link up where you can buy them and the full schedule of the events. This entire rundown, you can find it at foxnashville.com. Now let's get a preview of Sunday's race from Fox 17 News' Heather Williams.
Now here's a look at some of the headlines you should be keeping your eye on as NASCAR heads to Nashville this weekend.
Christopher Bell won his 3rd race of the season in New Hampshire. Could he be a serious contender now for the championship?
Bell has shown, a lot of strength here, and that's, I don't know. It'd be hard to say right now. I think it's still too early in the season to pick like a front runner horse.
The worst kept secret in the garage becomes official as Chase Briscoe will join Joy Gibbs Racing next season.
It's super exciting for me to come over here to an organization that, I feel like this matches, my values, and just the culture over here is just different than anywhere I've ever been before.
And NASCAR takes on Music City.
It's just so different. It's like a mile and a half, but it races like a short track. So I like it a lot. Just trying to balance, racing it like a short track, but still trying to keep the mile and a half speeds in it.
You can watch my full conversation with Carson Hocevar and our expert Chris Carrier on the Backstretch podcast, which you can find on Apple Podcasts and on YouTube. On the Backstretch, I'm Heather Williams.
It's called misophonia, and it is a condition where sounds make you.
In your health news tonight, some people suffering from a rare disorder struggle with hearing certain sounds.
Fox 17 medical reporter Liz Bonus takes a look at what's being done to help these patients cope with this problem.
Hey there, everybody. Misophonia is a neurophysiological disorder. It causes people to have extreme reactions to specific sounds.
Chewing food, for example, is one sound that can trigger this reaction, or even someone breathing or swallowing.
Misophonia in itself is really about the reaction to the signal that we're hearing.
Dr. Erica Person of Indiana's Flex Audiology says it's not just a loud environment, say at work, that triggers tension, anxiety, irritability, but rather.
But it takes a specific sound and it starts to morph into really negative thoughts and feelings to where maybe you start avoiding going out to eat. Or if you have a coworker that does the classic pen, yeah, that can be annoying, but it's taking that sound and starting to avoid doing things.
The classic pen thing or tapping can trigger a reaction even more if you have hearing trouble, which is why Dr. Stephanie Grace of Phonak Hearing Solutions says specific items that help enhance or filter sounds like these may be part of treatment.
You would get a very comprehensive examination, very thorough history, but also a hearing test in the booth, really full audiometric evaluation as well.
Those evaluations can help you identify sounds that set you off. And with the help of counseling and other therapies, navigate around or avoid the reaction they trigger in the body and the brain.
An audiologist can help you learn which of these therapies might help you. Your doctor can refer you to a specialist if needed. With your health news, I'm Liz Bonus reporting.
Gonna be a hot one tomorrow.